continuation with the diversification of the microbial world, today we are going to learn another aspect of diversification, and that is called metabolic diversity. Now, when we say metabolic diversity, we basically refer to the diverse patterns of the microorganism which are or which have been differentiated based on their metabolic activity. Metabolism has got two important aspects. One is called catabolism and the other one is anabolism. The word kata comes from a Greek word and that means down, and balin coming means to throw. Basically, catabolism refers to the process where we have breaking down of the larger molecules or major molecules into smaller or minor molecules. And whenever something breaks, we know that there is release of energy. Now, this energy so released is either conserved in some energy-rich compounds inside the living cell of the bacteria, or they are released as heat, or they are used for some other work by the bacterial cell. Now, this other work I am referring to is nothing but the anabolic processes, or we call it anabolism. In anabolism, again a Greek word, the ana means up. That means going upper in the energy form. It refers to the process which is completely opposite of the catabolism. It says that bringing down of all the minor molecules or smaller molecules together and synthesizing a major molecule or a molecule which is larger in size. Now, this consumes energy. And this energy is coming from the very energy which is being released from the earlier process which we refer to as the catabolism. Now, energy when conserved inside the cell, some energy-rich molecules are being formed inside the cells, whether they are microbial cells or any other eukaryotic cell, and these energy-rich unit is called ATP and ADP. ATP called adenosine triphosphate and ADP is adenosine diphosphate. Here we see we have a adenosine which is joined to two phosphate groups. It's diphosphate, and when adenosine is joined with three phosphate groups, we form a molecule which is called ATP. Basically, when the catabolism takes place, we have synthesis of ATP. And when we need energy, this ATP breaks down, releases the energy and gets converted to ADP. This conversion of ATP to ADP takes place in a cycle which is called the cell's energy cycle. In this cell's energy cycle, the synthesis of ATP takes place by some important processes which are aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration, fermentation and photosynthesis. While this ATP so formed inside the cell breaks down, gives the energy for some anabolic processes like chemical work, transport work or mechanical work. And whenever this ATP breaks down, we have the formation of adenosine diphosphate with the release of one phosphate group. Now, the energy therefore holds a very important place for growth and stability of a microorganism. So, let us see how, based on the sources of energy required by the microbe, they can be classified into different types. Now, the first source of energy we refer to here is the solar energy. So, any microorganism that utilizes solar energy and synthesizes its own compound inside the cell, we call this process as phototrophy. Another source of energy can be the organic compound, when the organic compound gets oxidized and the energy is being released. Another source of energy is where the inorganic compound are used, where inorganic compound get oxidized and we have the release of energy. Whenever we have the reduction of the organic compound, this type of pathway is known as chemoorganotrophy. And whenever the inorganic compounds are being oxidized, this pathway is called chemolithotrophy. So whatever the source of energy is, ultimately we have an energy which is converted to a chemical energy, and this chemical energy so produced is nothing but the formation of adenosine triphosphate inside the cell, which is being utilized by the cell for some essential work. Now, let us see the metabolism or the metabolic pathway by which the bacterial cells are being diversified. These are basically three in nature. Number one, we have heterotrophic type of metabolism. In heterotype of metabolism, we consider the group of bacteria which is called chemoorganotropes. That means here we have the reduction of the organic compounds and they form some oxidized organic compounds. The examples of this type of metabolic pathway is seen in the case of Bacillus and Clostridium. Now this heterotrophic metabolism takes into account two important processes, which is fermentation and respiration. Now how fermentation differs from the respiration, let us see. When we talk about fermentation, we basically referring to a process where you have a breaking down of an organic compound and you have release of energy and ultimately you have a formation of an end product. If we go on to this model of fermentation, we see that glucose is the substrate over here, which is converted to an intermediate, which is 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, and this pyruvic acid ultimately forms an end product, which is 2 molecules of lactic acid in this case. That means there are 4 important things that are necessary in the fermentation process. Number 1, the energy is derived from the partial oxidation of an organic compound using organic intermediates as electron donors and electron acceptors. Therefore, the intermediates so formed in the pathway are itself donors and the acceptors of electrons. That means no outside electron acceptors are involved in this process. Number 3, there is no membrane or electron transport system required in this process of fermentation. And the 4th is all the ATP that is being produced is by substrate level phosphorylation. So these are basically the 4 important criteria by which we call any metabolic pathway as the fermentative metabolic pathway. Now one of the type of this fermentation is called Embden-Meyerhof pathway. This is a pathway which distinguishes different forms of bacteria. Say for example, Embden-Meyerhof pathway is a metabolic pathway seen in the case of Lactobacillus as well as in the case of Saccharomyces. A common name of Saccharomyces we all know yeast, and Lactobacillus is a bacteria which is used as commonly lactic acid bacteria. Now let us see, this Embden-Meyerhof pathway says that the basic molecule which you begin with fermentation process is glucose. This glucose, after forming the intermediates, ultimately you have the formation of pyruvic acid. Here also in the case of Saccharomyces, we see glucose is being broken down and we have the synthesis of 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. So up to this stage, we have the formation of pyruvic acid in both the cases, whether it's Lactobacillus or it is Saccharomyces. But now see the difference. Here in case of Lactobacillus, 2 pyruvic acid gets converted to 2 lactic acid and therefore the name has been given Lactobacillus. While in the case of Saccharomyces, we see that pyruvic acid gets converted to alcohol with the release of carbon dioxide. And therefore, we say that yeast produces alcohol and lactic acid is produced from Lactobacillus. However, both of them are using the same type of fermentation pathway. Now, this is not only the case of Lactobacillus and Saccharomyces where we see the diverse forms. Here, let us see the different examples of the bacteria, or what we say the diverse form of bacteria showing the metabolic diversity. Now, here we look onto it. The pyruvic acid is the main molecule which is formed by Embden-Meyerhof pathway. And this pyruvic acid can be converted to lactic acid in the case of Streptococcus, Lactobacillus and Staphylococcus. However, the same very pyruvic acid that is coming by this pathway of fermentation can be converted to acetolactic acid. This acetolactic acid is further broken down and we have formation of butanediol. Now, this is a pathway, or we can say a characteristic metabolic pathway which is seen in the case of Klebsiella, Enterobacter and Bacillus. The pyruvic acid can also be converted to acetyl-CoA with the release of carbon dioxide. And when it converted to acetyl-CoA, this is further converted and we have the formation of acetoacetyl-CoA in many species of Clostridium. However, there are another group of Clostridium where we see that acetoacetyl-CoA so formed gets converted to isopropanol, butyric acid and butanol. So, again a diversification of a genus and we have different species of Clostridia showing metabolic diversity. Coming on to another pathway of pyruvic acid where we can have the formation of formic acid, and this is a characteristic pathway of Shigella. However, this formic acid can be broken down into carbon dioxide and hydrogen, which is not seen in the case of Shigella, but this is a pathway characteristics of E. coli and Salmonella, both of them belonging to enteric group. Not only these two, Shigella, E. coli, Salmonella, both belong to enteric group of bacteria. However, the metabolic diversity is there. Coming on to another pathway where we see that pyruvic acid can be converted to oxaloacetic acid, and oxaloacetic acid is further converted to propionic acid. This propionic acid gives the name to Propionibacterium because they are the characteristic bacteria which shows the formation of propionic acid. Again, this metabolic pathway is seen in the case of Bifidobacterium. So, we see that Embden-Meyerhof pathway, which is a type of fermentation pathway, how this pathway, a single pathway, can bring about different diverse metabolic forms of the bacteria. Now, going on to a second type of fermentation which is called the heterolactic or phosphoketolase pathway. Heterolactic, as the name goes on, that means all the end products so formed are not lactic acid, but there is some heterogeneous combination of the end product. Now, what is this heterogeneous combination? Let us see. We have the glucose as the initial substrate which is being broken down, and we have two molecules now, or we say two intermediates being formed as glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and acetyl phosphate. Acetyl phosphate forms ethanol, while glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate after many intermediate forms lactic acid, and therefore we call it heterolactic. So, one hand we have formation of lactic acid, on the other hand we have formation of ethanol. This is a characteristic seen in the case of Lactobacillus and Leuconostoc. Going on to the third type of fermentation, which is called the Entner-Duderoff pathway. In Entner-Duderoff pathway, again the substrate is glucose, but in this case glucose breaks down into pyruvic acid and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate gets converted to ethanol, while the pyruvic acid gets converted to ethanol on the other hand. So, we have formation of ethanol only, you don't have the heterogeneous end product. This is a common pathway seen in the case of Zymomonas. So, we see though the basic substrate is glucose in all the types of fermentation, but how this glucose can be broken down into different forms, and therefore we have metabolic diversity of the bacteria. Going on to the second part of heterotrophic mode of nutrition, we say we have respiration. Now, respiration can be of various types. This respiration can be aerobic if it takes place in the presence of oxygen, and this respiration can be anaerobic if it takes place in the absence of oxygen. If it is aerobic, the reduced end product is water, and this takes place in the two microorganisms, Escherichia and Streptomyces. However, if the respiration is anaerobic, that can be of various types. The first example we called is denitrification. In the denitrification process, which is exhibited mainly by Bacillus and Pseudomonas, we see that the end product is either NO2, N2O or nitrogen, and the nitrate is the electron acceptor. However, anaerobic respiration can be sulfate reduction process where we have the reduced end product, which is either hydrogen sulfide or sulfur. This is seen in the case of desulfovibrio. Anaerobic respiration can be the one where it uses the organic electron acceptor, where fumarate is the electron acceptor and the reduced end product is succinate, or we call it succinic acid, seen in the case of Escherichia. The last type is called methanogenesis type of respiration, or we call methanogenesis as a type of respiration where the carbon dioxide is the electron acceptor and the reduced end product so formed is methane, and therefore the name comes methane bacteria, and here also we can see the bacteria is very specific called Methanococcus. So, the respiration and fermentation can be of different types, bringing out the different forms of bacteria. Going on to the second group of metabolism, that is called chemolithotrophy. In chemolithotrophy, we call it a lithotrophic type of metabolism. There is reduction of inorganic compound, and these inorganic compounds are usually minerals. Commonly seen in the case of Nitrospira and Thermodesulfobacteria. Now, these Nitrospira and Desulfobacteria are not only the genus showing this type of mode of nutrition. Lithotrophy basically runs in the domain of bacteria and archaea and not found in the domain of eukarya. Now, the lithotrophic groups that can be seen in the bacteria are of different types. Number one, we call it hydrogen bacteria because here the source of energy is hydrogen and the oxidized end product is water. Many years it was thought as methanogens as a type of hydrogen bacteria because again they were utilizing the same energy source and giving out the same oxidized end product. Later on it was found that the methanogens belong to the domain of archaea, not to the domain of bacteria, and therefore now they are classified as methanogens and not as hydrogen bacteria. The genus we can see is the hydrogen bacteria is alkali genus and Pseudomonas, while Methanobacterium is a name given for the methanogens. Now, there is another type of chemolithotrophy that is seen, and such bacteria are called carboxydobacteria. In this case, carbon monoxide is the energy source and the end product so formed is carbon dioxide. Now, this bacteria has occupied a very significant role in today's world. Carbon monoxide is released by burning of the fossil fuel. So, if you find a bacteria which is able to degrade this carbon monoxide and convert it into carbon dioxide, then obviously this is useful for the pollution control. A bacteria coming under this category is Rhodospirillum and Azotobacter. There is another group of lithotroph which is called nitrifying bacteria. Now, nitrifying bacteria can be of two types because they can utilize two different sources of energy. When they utilize ammonia as their source of energy, the end product so formed is nitrite, NO2. However, if the source of energy is nitrite, they form the end product which is called nitrate. And therefore, the two different genus comes into account. The Nitrosomonas, which utilizes the ammonia, and Nitrobacter, which utilizes the NO2. However, both of them belong to the group of nitrifying bacteria. The sulfur oxidizers are another group of chemolithotrophs, and they utilize hydrogen sulfide or sulfur, and there is formation of the end product which is sulfate, seen in the case of Thiobacillus or Sulfolobus. The iron bacteria are the last group of chemolithotrophs which utilize as energy source the ferrous compounds and convert it into ferric compounds, seen in the case of Gallionella and Thiobacillus. So, these are the diverse forms of lithotrophs which bring about chemolithotrophy. Coming on to the third basic type of metabolism, which is called the phototrophic type of metabolism. In phototrophic type of metabolism, as the name goes on, photo means the source of energy is photon of light, that is nothing but solar energy. This is of various types, because in this case there should be a photochemical reaction center which is able to capture the solar energy and make it available to the system, to the living system, so that that energy could be utilized by the living system. For example, this is seen in the case of purple bacteria, cyanobacteria, as well as in green bacteria, but the photosynthetic pathway differs. How? Let us see. There is a type of photosynthesis which is known as oxygenic photosynthesis. That means a type where we have liberation of oxygen. And from where this oxygen is liberated? It is by the splitting of the water molecule we have release of oxygen. This is called the oxygenic photosynthesis, seen in the case of cyanobacteria, and therefore we call it cyanobacterial photosynthesis. This type of photosynthesis is similarly seen in the case of higher plants or in algae, where you have two photosystems as PS1 and PS2. The transport of electron takes place from PS2 to PS1, and therefore we have the formation of a reducing power which is NADH, which is utilized for other photosynthetic process. However, this photosynthesis can be anoxygenic when we do not have the liberation of oxygen. In this case, we don't find the two photosystems together. However, there is presence of only one photosystem, and through this one photosystem, it covers the whole transport of electrons, and by reverse electron flow, we have synthesis of the reducing power. Another, this is seen in the case of purple non-sulfur bacteria, and there is a presence of a pigment which is written as BPH. This is nothing but bacteriophyophytin. When the phyophytin is present in a cyanobacteria or in a plant, we call it phyophytin. However, when this is present in a bacteria, we call it bacteriophyophytin. Same as in the case of chlorophyll. If the chlorophyll is found in the case of plants or cyanobacteria, we call it chlorophyll, and if the chlorophyll is found in the case of bacteria, we call it bacteriochlorophyll, as you can see over here, BCHL. That means this chlorophyll can absorb the light as 663 nanometers. Now, this is an example of green sulfur bacteria or green sulfur bacterial photosynthesis, where we find again an anoxygenic photosynthesis, because here again the splitting of the water molecule does not take place. We do not have the liberation of oxygen. Again, there is presence of only one photosystem, and the transport of electrons takes place with the help of different cytochromes that are present, and we have the synthesis of the reducing power, which is NAD. Coming on to the another type of photosynthesis, which we call non-photosynthetic phosphorylation. Rather, this is not photosynthesis, but this is a type of photosynthesis, because here also the source of energy is photon of light. But this is non-photosynthetic because the pigments which are normally found in the case of photosynthesis are completely absent in this group, and this is mainly found in the halophilic bacteria, the bacteria which survives in salt. Now, this non-photosynthetic phosphorylation takes into account a very important pigment, and that is called bacteriorhodopsin. The bacteriorhodopsin has got a component in itself, and that is called retinal. Retinal can exist in two forms. Either it can have cis form or it can have trans form. The trans form of the retinal after absorption of the solar energy gets converted into cis form of retinal, and during this conversion we have the release of protons. The hydrogen plus or H plus, what has been written, these protons so released, they form a gradient on the outside of the membrane, and this proton gradient so formed on the outside of the membrane induces the ATPase. That is a pump which is used for the production of ATP. Now this ATP, when induced by the proton gradient, starts working, and inside the cell the ADP gets converted to ATP or adenosine triphosphate, and therefore the ATP molecules are synthesized inside the cell. So here we are able to see the different metabolic patterns that can be seen in a bacterial cell. Genus to genus, species to species, this metabolic pathway may differ. However, the basic of the metabolism remains the same, that in catabolism there should be synthesis of the ATP molecules, and in anabolism you have the utilization of the ATP molecules. So these are the different diverse forms of the bacteria which are being classified based on their metabolism.